Hello, everybody. This is yet another fantastic session for the Piwik PRO Day. This time, I'm joined in the studio with Josh Silverbauer. Hi, Josh.
Hello, everybody.
Let's start with a few words from you. So, who are you? What are you? What do you do?
Yes, sure. So I am the head of analytics at a company called From the Future. It's a digital agency in the US. And on top of that, I am very out there in the community, making all sorts of fun content for analytics related stuff. Musician, creative, content producer, and so yeah, that's who I am.
Yeah, great, thanks. So, like today, we're here to chat about a combination. Let's call it a combination of your skills or interests. So, from one side, the digital analytics space, and from the other, your musical inclinations. So, today we will be talking about your art. That combines those two worlds, meaning the user journey rock opera. Let's start with a bit of introduction. I know you brought a clip that's like from an animation that presents the album. Yes, let's see.
Yes.
Listen up, people of the universe. It's time for this universe to go to sleep.
'Cause I'm the great tag magician, so I'll put you any place you want to go. The great tag magician, yeah. I'm the great tag magician, and I'm gonna send him to another land. I'm the great tag magician, yeah. 'Cause I'm the great tag magician, so I'll take you any place you want to go. I'm the great tag magician, yeah. I'm the great tag magician, yeah. I'm the great tag magician, yeah.
Great. Okay, thanks for bringing that here. Now a bit more words of explanations here. So, like, user journey rock opera. What is it?
Yeah. So back, when Universal Analytics was the big platform that everybody was using. It came to a pretty big shock when they said that they were sunsetting it. And I, for a really long time, I owned my own agency before I joined From the Future. And when I like during that point in my life, like I had a really tough time combining creativity and my work and my life like together. It was like creativity was over here and work was over here when I had my own agency. When I joined From the Future, I felt like someone actually said to me, a brand consultant at some point, like right after I joined From the Future, he was like, Josh, you should really lean into like the singing and dancing thing. Like, who wouldn't want to work with the singing and dancing analytics guy, right? And I was like, yeah, why not? Right. So when Universal Analytics was basically being sunset and GA4, I was like, you know what? I really want to create like a GA4 song. And I had like a lot of ideas about like a GA4 song. But then I was like, you know what? I don't want it to be like about the platform. So let me just like create kind of more of an allegory around the universal sunset. And I thought that was more poetic. And so I created this like universal sunset song, and it was originally just supposed to be a song, right? And then that got a lot of positive response. And I was like, okay, there's something here. Let me expand on it. And so I started to build a story. And so we'll stop there and then talk a little bit about it more.
Okay, thanks. So like more or less when you were like, let's say, honing the topic, so it would be always about the sunset, the universal analytic sunset, or were you like considering some other main themes or something like that?
No, so it was very much like it was about the universal sunset, because it was also about my life as like a, and my career as an analyst, of like, here's this thing that I built kind of my career around, right? And now I have to like adapt and go on this thing that I don't like, go to this thing that I don't really know very well, and learn a whole new part of something that I don't necessarily feel comfortable with. And that kind of, I wanted to create something that was kind of like the user journey is a play on hero journey, right? Where the hero is, it's obviously user journey as, a nod to user journey in analytics, but it's also the hero journey. And so it's like the character trying to figure out where to go next in his life, in his world, find a new world, right? What fits for him. There's a lot of unknowns. And during this time, there was a lot of unknowns, right? People were really freaking out about like, oh, I'm going to lose all this data. I'm going to lose all of this, like lifetime of kind of like feeling comfortable with a platform. And now I have to find something else. And so that's really, those two kind of parts of it, which was like finding a new kind of comfort in the next thing. And then also like, the story of the hero journey. That's what I wanted to combine with the tale.
Yes, so like for sure what you are saying here, so like how you felt about the sunset and so on, this is, let's say, the general feel of the industry. So like in let's say like in the beginning of the album, there came this almighty voice. So the universe is ending, baby, and you can do anything about that.
Yeah, exactly. It was very much like, this voice in the sky saying, hey everybody, you gotta go figure it out, right? Like, I'm sorry, but you gotta go. Your entire universe is not going to be there anymore, right? And that set this really negative tone on the industry not negative, but anxious tone on the industry of, I need to go and find this new thing. And no one was like, there was things out there, but it wasn't really well known that much, because everybody felt kind of comfort in universal analytics, and so when this happened, it really set off this kind of like explosion of okay, let's go out and find something new, right? How do I start? Where do I start?
Yeah, exactly. So like Cookie is kind of like us, meaning like the industry. So like like Cookie, now knowing that the universe is no more. Everybody, like every analyst, needed to like start a journey. Maybe not meeting an urchin or a tag magician or some stuff like that. But it was like a moment for everybody to start their journeys here, and for like seeking new solutions, seeking like new possibilities or like tools to use.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so like, the volume 1 of, where kind of this trilogy of rock opera is, volume 1 is very much about like Cookie's journey to even start exploring these different kind of options, right? It's how like getting out of the mindset of this one thing, and then like going to it ends essentially at like, okay, I'm ready to kind of go out there and explore, right? I have the tools that I need to go out there and explore. And there's a lot of like these little nods to the analytics industry within the volume 1, but it's the story essentially is from here to there. You know, it was interesting because like in the very beginning, the volume 1 was going to be a lot about alternatives and stuff, and I pulled in Jason Packer, who wrote a book on GA4 alternatives, to like kind of inform me more about like what else was out there, because he was the one who was pushing kind of like,
yeah, absolutely.
He had his book, and I didn't even know him. I just reached out, and then he was like, can I play guitar? And then can I also like help you with the story? And I was like, yeah, that sounds amazing.
Like,
let's do it. Yeah.
Instant BFFs. Great,
Yeah,
great.
it was really like match made in heaven. It was amazing.
Great. So like I would like to pause a bit more on the cookie persona.
Yeah.
So like, you know, like the name is very like, let's say, resounding for our industry. So why cookie is called a cookie? So like, did you consider any other names here?
I mean, not really. It was very much like I thought like, what could, you know, if one thing had to go from one platform to another, what's kind of like the common kind of thing that, you know, well, first of all, I when I started writing songs, I had the idea for that I wanted to write something about a third party cookie song, right? And that came really early. But like the character cookie, you know, like one of the scenes, he meets the great tag magician, right? And the great tag magician, which was based off of like Simo Ahava, right, in my mind, he, you know, was able to send, you know, the cookie from one universe to another, right? And so like I was thinking like, okay, you know, sending something from one place to another, right? That's like what establishes that new software, what establishes kind of like that connection of data from one software to another, you know? And I thought, you know, a cookie would be a great kind of not only like representative of that, of like, here's the next one, here's the cookies in this one, now you're using this, right? But it's also kind of like a really great from a song perspective, because it's a 2-syllable thing that rhymes with stuff. It falls off the tongue. And I thought it was like this also this kind of like innocent creature that can kind of be like manipulated based off of, you know, who is using it. Right?
Yeah, this is like great. Like, you know, again, so like this is absolutely opens, you know, all of this discussion, because like initially cookies were like about some way else, something really else than what's ultimately are we using it. And at the same time, you know, they are kind of like a scapegoats or something like that regarding all of the discussions that are happening, you know, in our industry. So this is very nice.
And I don't want to get too far into data like volume 2, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but so much of volume 2 is about the manipulation of cookie, right? And so it's like, you know, there's it definitely goes more into like a dark path, and it shows you kind of like, you know, this innocent thing that can be kind of swayed into something that's not very innocent based off of whoever is using it. So yeah.
Oh, so totally, like volume 2 will be your Empire Strikes Back.
Exactly.
The most gloomy part of the original trilogy.
Yep, exactly.
Universal Journey 1 is like a fantastic trip, meaning cookies, meeting a lot of crazy characters, and so on and so on. But let's say that the basic premise are grim. So like meaning cookie is escaping a world that will be dead. So my question here about the music, because everything there is like quite like, in my opinion, so like you will need to like defend your art here. This is like everything's like quite happy and quite like, let's say, cheerful. Why did you decide to go, let's say, with this poetic or something like that?
So I wanted the whole thing to feel like it was a kid's album for adults or an adult's album for kids, right? Like I wanted this innocence to the album because I wanted it to be seen through Cookie's eyes. And I see Cookie as something that is innocent at all, you know, kind of like throughout everything, he is innocent. And it's really about the things around him that are changing how he is, right? And so, you know, there are parts of Volume 2, for instance, that are darker, that feel darker. But that's because of the characters that are around Cookie at the time. And Cookie in itself is not dark, right? And so I wanted this kind of fantastical, innocent journey to, you know, it's the hero's journey. In a lot of the hero journeys tales, like they start innocent, trying to really find what is truth for them to grow. And
Absolutely.
then whatever comes in is really like, you know, changing that character. And then, you know, there's some darkness to usually that character, and then it ultimately resolves into something.
Yes, absolutely. So, okay, so like spoiler alert here. So like the Volume 1 ends with Cookie starting its journey to another universe.
Yes.
So we know that. And I think we can start teasing or talking at least loosely about Volume 2 here, because like we've sprinkled some information during this chat already. But let's say we'll start with we'll start with the starting points here. So for sure, and I know that Cookie's scope of the universes or something like that will broaden in the second album. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, so much of the first album was about his ability to travel, like Urchin. You know, he's traveling by Urchins, traveling by UTM parameter, you know, tracking all this. And the Great Tag Magician gives him the ability to explore different universes, and that's where we end on Volume 1. And Volume 2 picks up where he starts to explore different universes. And there's a GA4 universe, right? There's a universe with a lot of different things. And this is where kind of Piwik PRO comes into it as well, because, you know, so much about, you know, Volume 2 is all about data privacy and ethics, right? And what you're allowed to, not what you're allowed to do, but what you should do versus what you can do.
Right.
And I wanted, because, Piwik PRO is so, has so much of the values of privacy, ethics in data collection. I wanted to work it in a really big way without being like, Piwik PRO, the song, right? And so
absolutely. Like I think your artistic heart would not bear some, this like very like, let's say dull, not an analogy, but like directly saying about stuff. And we'll talk about that in a second. So like about kind of Piwik PRO role here. But let's say my question here would be, okay, this is again an album that tries to talk about the changes in our industry. So like this broadening of the scope and the privacy stuff. So you think both of those things like came into focus or became the center of attention only after the Universal Analytics sunset?
I think it was swimming around, before. But I think because Universal Analytics was such a monster beast of a program that like so many people used, it was less talked about universally, no pun intended. But, I think that, at least my experience of it was when Universal Analytics was sunset and everybody was forced to kind of look for something else. The conversation around data privacy became more at the forefront because now people were actively looking for different platforms, and the conversation around what platforms use data responsibly, right, became part of a selling point almost, right, around like this is something that is valuable and important, and you were not paying attention to this in Universal Analytics. Do you really want to continue sending all this data, to something that, potentially is not super duper, good for the end user, right? So like, when companies, started to really lean into data privacy and say, this is a way to continue having access to data while also being responsible with that data and responsible with your end users kind of privacy. That became really valuable and important during the conversation of what to go to next, I think.
Yes, nice. Yeah, so like I think this is very interesting because this more or less adds a very tragic dimension to a digital analyst's or like marketing team's role here, because there's this constant struggle, as you're saying, how to use a cookie. There are options, a lot of options here. So this tension between the regulations / ethics / doing what is right, and this, let's say, old stuff or old frameworks where you were collecting everything just in case without putting any thought into this, etc. Yeah, so like yes.
Oh, I was gonna say, and like that's how the album, and like spoiler alert, and like I mean, hopefully the album comes out pretty soon after we have this discussion. But spoiler alert, the album ends with that mentality of, I'm just gonna take everything. It's the ultimate bad cookie, right? I just want to take everything, and I don't, I'm not worried about the consequences. And it ends with Fred Pike, who's the narrator at the very end, who's like, there's a little voice in the back of his head that maybe something about this is not okay. And then that's where it is. And so volume 3 is going to be the consequences and the fallout of not listening to the ethical part of yourself, So yeah.
Wow, this sounds really nice. So for sure, this is like totally a trilogy.
Yeah, it's totally a trilogy. I can't stop now. Like if I stop now, there's no resolve. So yeah.
Yeah. I know what you're saying here. So like for sure, when let's say everything will be done, that's the moment. Then you can like think about writing something new. Maybe GA4 Sunset or something like that. Yeah. Okay. So maybe now let's get back to Piwik PRO here. So like we're super honored like that you've decided to like let's say include the brand, let's say our values or however we call that into your story and your music. So can you tell us a bit more about the process? So I know that and as we said, this is not, let's say, a direct Piwik PRO reference. This is like, again, convoluted and not seen in the first glance. So what can you share here? What role Piwik PRO will play in the story?
Yeah, so it's funny because like I really wanted to work Piwik PRO in, and like I wanted to do it in a clever way. And so like there's a song of Cookie exploring all of these different universes, and all these different universes are like, there's a bunch of different puns for other platforms in there. But I didn't want Piwik PRO to just be in that. And honestly, you guys don't have a very punny name, right? I can't just be like, in a song. It's not like, adding, one of the other ones. Piano, right? Piano is one of those. Like, it's not like just say a piano, right? Because like, but so I really took Piwik PRO and I like Great Tag Magician, I wanted to build a character around it and have that character be Cookie's kind of like angel shoulder character, right? Where there's also a devil shoulder in the story too. But the angel shoulder is Professor Piwik, right? And what's really so Professor Piwik, and like I took the pro obviously and made it professor, and I wanted him to be the teacher of the values of ethical multi-dimensional travel, right? And so like this idea of traveling to different universes is really that like checking out these different softwares and seeing what is right for Cookie, right? Or right for you as an analyst, right? And again, we're getting into kind of the ethics of like how and what you can do with data. And Professor Piwik is really that character that says you can't just do whatever you want, right? And there's a song called "The Ethical Guide to the Multiverse," which is literally him, Professor Piwik, telling Cookie, you can't just do whatever you want. You have to be aware of what's good and what's bad. Like, and there's a guide to this, right? There's actual things, and like the joke is in the story, you can't just slice and dice and chop and do whatever you want, which is more of a nod to data collection, but it really talks about these different universes as we're all giving you something. You can't just like build your own thing and do whatever you want with it, right? You have to kind of abide by the rules. And so I wanted Professor Piwik to be that voice of the conscious, almost, right? That ethical conscious. And then unfortunately, Cookie also meets a bad guy character who sways him in the opposite direction. But
oh no,
he'll come,
yeah, but
Professor
hopefully
Piwik, he'll come back. Professor,
yes,
yeah.
Like hopefully, like Cookie will go the wrong way for dramatic purposes only.
He does, and then he comes back. Professor Piwik comes back. Everybody comes back in the third one, and you'll see how it all resolves.
Okay, so I think this is, for example, a good moment as you did a nice introduction to this part, because you brought us a track to listen.
I did.
So everybody can get a sample of what's coming in User Journey Volume 2, and this is the Professor Piwik part. Yes.
Yes, this is the Ethical Guide to the Multiverse, sung by Professor Piwik.
Okay, so let's hear a part of it.
You have to comply. Go and find your shiny new home, but first you gotta know what you should know. Make sure to take down some notes. Here are a list of the do's and don'ts. Most important, do not forget when you travel on through. You gotta get consent. The multiverse.
Very nice. So if this is like an indication about the Volume 2, wow, this will be yet another great addition to the trilogy. Okay, so like again, so we're super happy like with you deciding to, let's say, extend our role in such a significant way in the album. So like thanks, and so on and so on. Yeah, so maybe, I don't know, like probably there's not much outlined yet, but maybe let's, please tell me, like, with the trilogy in mind. So will this story have a happy end? Ultimately,
it will have a it will end on a beautiful note. I will say that there's beauty. It will end on a universal sunrise. I will say that, like Cookie will eventually find a sunrise for himself, through this process of, going through this user journey. And, he will find, the true meaning of everything that he was looking for. There's going to be a lot of hurdles along the way there for him. And he's going to have to deal with the consequences of his actions that he's created for himself. But ultimately, there will be a beautiful ending for him.
Okay, so like totally, we should not spoil the fun and go in any details here. But like, let's say, so what would be the message here, like for for us, for the industry? So like, in general, like the universal sunset was for sure not the end.
Yes.
Like universal analytic sunset was not the end, yeah, but more of a, like, let's call it the beginning or a change or something like that.
Yes, it was. Within every end, there is a beginning, right? So that's really the first album message. The second album message is, really paying attention to how you are approaching life, and really approaching, your, how you want to kind of carry out yourself when you know that there's many different ways to do so. And then the third one is going to be basically dealing with consequences and finding kind of truth within yourself. And so there's a lot of messages, but from a digital analytics perspective, it's really, find out what's next for you, and know that there are not everything is hopeless. There's actually really good things out there, right? And Piwik PRO is definitely one of those really good things to explore. And like there's it's a whole new part of our universe, right? To kind of go out and do things. So
yeah, great. So I think this is like a beautiful note to close this discussion. So Josh, fantastic to have you here. Really happy to chat. And to our attendees, so we'll for sure share the links to the universal sunset rock opera in the comments here. And just in a second, when we'll close this discussion, Josh will be available for you for the Q&A section in the comments. Yeah, so thank you very much, Josh, and see you around for next sessions of Piwik PRO Day.